Good evening and welcome to this meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or any other electronic devices you have that might interrupt the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation on that. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available here in the front of the room if anybody would like to have one who is present. I'll make a statement for the record about the closed meeting of Monday, February 10th, 2025. In accordance with the General Provisions Article, Section 3-306C2 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and without objection, it is noted that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that the Common Council met in a closed meeting on Monday, February 10th, 2025 at 8:15 p.m. pursuant to General Provisions Article Section 3-305B3 to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto, and B7 to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The motion to close the meeting was made by Mr. Cavacci, seconded by Ms. Gilbert. The vote to close the meeting was unanimous. The following staff members attended the meeting: City Attorney Levan, and the Common Council took official action during the meeting. Closed meeting adjourned at 8:19 p.m. I believe Ms. Inhofe was there too. You're not, oh, you were, that's right, you were not. So that's correct.
I remember why, but I wasn't.
Okay. Right, we have two public hearings this evening, and in the city of Westminster, we let the mayor conduct our public hearing, so we are going to turn the gavel over to her and let her have at it.
Only time I get in the power. All right, so I'm going to call the public meeting, public hearing to order at 7:02. I'm with that. Ordinance number 2025-02, an ordinance of the mayor and common council of Westminster adopting local map amendment LMA 24-02, amending the zoning map for certain real property located at 222 East Green Street, Westminster, Maryland 21157, to superimpose the compatible neighborhood overlay zone CN zone over the existing R-7500 residential zone R-7500 zone to develop multiple family dwelling units. Before I take any public comments, I'll ask Mr. Depot, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you. So A&M LLC has submitted the request to amend the zoning map as outlined by the mayor. The property is located in the western quadrant of the intersection of East Green Street and Ralph Street in the city of Westminster. A portion of the property along East Green Street is located in the Westminster Historic District. The property has a land use designation of urban residential in the City of Westminster Comprehensive Plan. On May 29th, 2024, the local map amendment was introduced to the Planning and Zoning Commission. On August 29th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission held an introductory work session for the local map amendment. On September 4th, 2024, the Historic District Commission reviewed the local map amendment and provided referral comments. On September 19th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on the local map amendment. The Planning and Zoning Commission closed the public hearing and voted to forward LMA 2402 to a future work session with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on October 17th, November 21st, and December 19th to hold work sessions on the local map amendment. A lot of this was primarily due to working out the design of the site itself and as well as architecture. And you can see the architecture in the staff report. I think we came out with a really nice product. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to forward the ordinance of 2025-02, which they did draft, to the mayor and common council with attachment 1, and that includes both the site plan, the concept site plan, as well as the architectural elements. So they are a part of the ordinance. So any changes to those would have to come back and amend the actual ordinance itself. On January 27, 2025, the mayor and common council introduced ordinance 2025-02 and referred it to a future mayor and common council meeting for public hearing, which is tonight. The Department of Community Planning and Zoning, Planning and Development, recommends that the mayor and common council approve ordinance 2025-02, adopting local map amendment LMA 2402, amending the zoning map for a certain real property located at 222 East Green Street to superimpose the compatible neighborhood overlay zone over the existing R7500 residential zone as provided in attachment 1 of the report. And that completes my report, and I'm available for any questions.
So I have 3 individuals signed up. I'm not sure if you're signed up to comment on this public hearing or the next public hearing, or just for public comment. So I'm just gonna go through the list. Ms. Brophy?
I'm here for the next one.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr. Seltzer?
Not for this one.
Right. Mr. Wilson?
Yep. So, this is my first time, making comments at a meeting. Been a business owner I've spent, I guess it's now 43 years on the corner of 232 East Green Street at United Used Cars, since I was a kid working. My concerns are with the 4th floor, lack of historical, just keeping it off the road a little bit, and the design of it, I'm not a fan of. But my main issue is that stuff I'm fine with in the long run. Main issue is parking. Parking, they've allowed 65 spaces for 64 units. And we know 1 and 2 bedroom units have more than 1 car. I'd be out of business if they didn't. So there's no parking for that many people. There's not enough off-street parking. Drive back on a Friday night and just look at Ralph Street all the way back. People are double parked. The church on Sunday, they use my parking lot and I've given them permission to do that. They've been very respectful, but they'll park anywhere from 8 to 20 cars because there's not enough parking for their church on the old Social Security building. But my biggest concern is that it is going to put a hardship on the people that already live there, the people that have businesses there. I have 5 spots in front of my lot, and I'll use 2 to 5 of them, depending on if the tenants across the street get in there or not. But they have a whole parking lot in the back of their unit. So without those 5 spots, which undoubtedly will be taken, it's hard for me to park customer cars when we're done and things like that. And I don't want vehicles, because there's no parking in the lot at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, coming over and parking in my lot. I don't want to be that business owner that's there with a tow truck every night and will basically fund the tow truck's, business, because I know that'll happen. So, because there's no other place to park. The American Legion has a big event. They'll use the off-street parking. And when I rented that lot from Mrs. Humphrey, I used to let them park on my lot for their overflow. And I know it did too. So when they have large events, funeral viewings, things like that, they're going to need the parking. I mean, to have 65 spaces for 64 units is irresponsible, in my opinion. That is of the plan, that is my largest concern. That and how my cars are going to stay clean during construction, because that will be, I literally might have to hire somebody to wash the cars every day, because of all the dust and things. But that's down the road. But the long lasting effects for me are the parking.
Anyone else like to be heard? Mr. Depot?
I could, just real quick, 64 is required. The property is providing 88 parking spaces on site. And again, once we get to the site development plan, which has to go back to Planning and Zoning Commission, will ensure that all the required parking is on site. But again, the plan is proposing 88
Which
parking
is still
spaces
short,
on site.
which is still short. Way
We
short.
can figure out doubling that.
That's not including if they have visitors.
Thank you. Anyone else like to? Can you please state your name and address, please?
Nicole Wilson.
Same as mine.
Nicole?
I
Yes.
just had a question about the parking. Where does it say that? Because in what I read, it said that it was required to have 64, but I didn't understand where it says 88. Just in the picture?
It's the site regulation. You can see
Oh,
the
okay.
required provided. And I can answer that question.
I see what you're saying. It's in the plan next week above what's required. It will all be that.
It's above what's required, but way short of, it's gonna create a mess on
Thank
that
you.
part of that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Sir,
John Lippy,
can you give me your address?
227 East Street, right across the street. I'll be looking at a wall. Put up 4 stories, I might not ever see the sun. Agree with everything that Kevin was saying about parking. It'll be a zoo.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment?
If I may,
They have your name and address, please.
first name Vasil, Vasyl, and last name Metzak.
Sorry, with the last name?
Metzak, Mytsak.
Address, please.
Well, I'm an owner and developer for 222 East Street. If you need my home address, it's 11208 Woodland Drive, Lucierville, Monio.
If you don't mind speaking up, because I'm having trouble hearing.
Sorry. So I just wanted to address the parking question. I understand the concern, but this project provides 100% of required parking spaces. Also, we are preserving 11 parking spaces along the street that not accounted for. And again, I understand that parking sometimes an issue, but this project provides 100% of all required parking.
We are enough.
Yeah, that's my.
Wait, this is not
Yeah, I
the
agree.
discussion, but thank you. All right, thank you. Yes.
So, can I ask Mr. Depot, so the issue before us tonight is to adopt an ordinance that would that would allow the use of the neighborhood overlay zone.
Correct. It's superimposing that zone.
So could you just explain why we're doing, why would that be included in what that?
Okay, so the original zone, R 7500, a residential zone, limiting on what type of residential product you can do. It's principally, it is only single-family detached development. The ordinance allows for R 7500 zones as well as R 10,000 zone to superimpose this compatible neighborhood zone. Essentially, it allows for greater density. And it's intended to be for multifamily. So by applying the overlay zone, it allows the applicant to move forward with the proposed multifamily development on site.
But doesn't it also, I mean, the reason why we originally adopted the neighborhood overlay zone, back when we did this, was also gives the city the opportunity to require improved conditions, is that correct?
That is correct. And as I stated earlier, it also locks them into the plan. So what you're being shown tonight can't be switched. Ultimately, we have to go back to the site development plan with the Planning and Zoning Commission, which they'll ensure that everything is met. And again, that's where we really look at the requirements of the ordinance as well. We can't approve it unless it meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Right, and that work will be done in the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yes.
With your staff. Us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. President, when do we want to ask Mr. Depot some questions? Now or when we get to the hearings?
You can do it either time. It's in, it's in it for. I just wanted to get that out.
Yeah. I just want to.
Any other comments? All right, with that, I'll call the hearing closed at 7:15 p.m. Okay, I'm gonna call the next public hearing to order at 7:15. This is ordinance number 2025-03, Cannabis Overlay District Amendment, and ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster adopting a sectional map amendment to amend the boundaries of the Cannabis Overlay District for the purpose of establishing the appropriate locations for the designation of cannabis overlay floating zones, permitting the operation of cannabis businesses in the city. Mr. Hippo?
Thank you. If you recall, on September 25th, 2023, the Mayor and Common Council adopted ordinance 2023-06, Cannabis Overlay District, where they created the overlay for cannabis for the purpose to establish the appropriate locations for the designation of cannabis overlay floating zones, permitting the operation of cannabis businesses in the city. There are 2 cannabis dispensaries currently located in the city. One is the dispensary at 330-140 Village Road, Westminster, and the second is Verilife Dispensary at 700 Corporate Center Court. On October 10th, 2024, the owners of the dispensary at 330-140 Village Road submitted the request to extend the Cannabis Overlay District to include property located at tax map 46, grid 16, parcel 307. This is the property that's adjacent to the existing sheets on 140. And on December 10th, 2024, the Economic and Community Development Committee discussed the applicant's request to amend the Cannabis Overlay District to include the property. The ECDC also discussed removing the 140 Village Road property where the current location is with the dispensary use, removing that from the overlay district. And the ECDC supported bringing the proposed Cannabis Overlay District amendment to the Mayor and Common Council for consideration. On January 27th, 2025, the Mayor and Common Council introduced ordinance 2503, including Exhibit A. Exhibit A is designating providing a description of where the overlay is going to be extended and where it was going to be removed. So it was amending the zoning map for the cannabis overlay by adding that one property adjacent to Sheets, and again removing 330-140 Village and 332-140 Village Road from the Cannabis Overlay District. So again, adding, but also removing. As you recall, there was some discussion, Mayor and Common Council, about possibly not removing any portion of the Cannabis Overlay Zone. On January 27th, 2025, the applicant provided a request to maintain the 330-140 Village Road and 332 Village Road. So again, not to remove it at this time, just to add the one overlay over top the property adjacent to Sheets. The reasoning for this, because there was concern that by removing it, it creates, the property then becomes a non-conforming use. And there was concern about if they wanted to expand that location, particularly if there was an issue with them moving the business to the property next to Sheets. So there was concern about that, but again, they had no issue with the removal of that overlay at 330-140 at such time that they can actually move their location. So the thought would be we would come back with another sectional map amendment to potentially move that portion. Or in February 20th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing for ordinance 2503. The commission closed the public hearing and deliberated on ordinance 2503 as introduced, and the request of the applicant to amend Exhibit A to maintain the Cannabis Overlay District over 330 and 332-140 Village Road. The commission voted to amend the ordinance and amending Exhibit A by removing the reduction of the Cannabis Overlay District over 330-140 Village and 332-140 Village. Therefore, Exhibit A would only amend the City of Westminster zoning map to Cannabis Overlay District by adding that property adjacent to Sheets. The Department of Community Planning and Development recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve ordinance 2025-02 as amended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and provided in attachment 1 of this report. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Capel. Ms. Brophy?
Thank you, Dr. Mayor and members of the council. We just wanted to, I'm here on behalf of the applicant and the current owners of the dispensary to voice our support that the mayor and common council adopt the ordinance as amended by the planning commission, meaning we maintain the overlay district at the current location. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to make public comment on this hearing? Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing at 7:20 p.m. President, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Dr. Becker. Okay, move on now to the next item, approval of minutes. We have minutes from the meeting of the mayor and common council on February 10th. Minutes from the closed meeting of the same date. And that's it. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion by Ms. Gilbert, is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Dayhoff. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, and the minutes are approved. We have 5 items on the consent calendar this evening. I have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion.
A motion by Mr. Kavachi, is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the consent calendar is approved. Report from the mayor, Dr. Becker.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to begin my comments by saying thank you to the Carroll County Commissioners for their support last week regarding the Respite Center project. We are looking forward to moving forward with the commissioners and other stakeholders in working towards a center for Carroll County residents with broad community support. I'd also like to say thank you to the 5 council members that are seated at the table with me. I know the last 2 or 3 weeks has not been easy for anyone, and I sincerely appreciate their unwavering support when there are difficult decisions to be made. On Tuesday, February 11th, I was able to swing by Chicken Salad Chick on their opening day and check out the newest and currently only location in Brooklyn. I ran into some friends, had an enjoyable lunch. I imagine several others up here might also talk about that in their comments. Last week, Council President Pecoraro and I spent some time in Annapolis, meeting with Senator Zucker and representatives from Delegate Jazz Lewis's office. We stopped by the governor's office to meet with Molly Burns and Dylan Goldberg, and were able to get a few minutes with the governor himself. We were also able to stop in and spend some time with our delegation. I'd just like to say their support on our initiatives in Westminster is always appreciated, and the delegation has been 100% fully supportive of Westminster throughout the last 4 years almost since I've been mayor. And then in the last minute, I'm sure our city administrator will report and provide some updates later, but I do want to say thank you to all the city staff that showed up over the weekend and helped with the cleanup for the water pipe break at 45 West Main. I won't give any more details. I don't know very many more details about that, but I know that the staff put in many hours over the weekend, along with our city administrator dealing with the water cleanup. And that is all I have, Mr. President.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mayor. Move on now to reports from committees. We'll begin with our representative to the Carroll County Arts Council, Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lots of good programming at the Arts Council. Check the website for further information. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Mr. Hoff, the Economic and Community Development Committee.
I'll share this little anecdote under economic and community development. I did go to the Chicken Salad Chick, as there were several other council members there as well. But I had an interesting conversation with the owner of that business. He actually also owns the Jersey Mike in the same development, Westminster Station. And I asked him, out of all the places in Maryland, why he decided to open the Chicken Salad Chick here. And he told me that since he had opened his Jersey Mike in 2021, at that location, he had homegrown 4 managers out of that location. And he was very impressed with the quality of the people and their hard work. And I think that's a real testament to the people of Westminster and of Carroll County to hear something like that. So I was just very excited to see that or hear that. And I just think it's a real testament to our community. So thought it was a neat story. That's it, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hoff. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I'll report that the committee did meet since the last council meeting and discuss with the city administrator some contracting issues as well as budget preparation, which is now well underway. And we look forward to sharing all of that with you in the coming weeks. I have no report for the Personnel Committee. Public Safety, Mr. Kavachi.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'm going to defer my time to Councilman Dayhoff related to the loss of a couple of police officers just north of here. Mr. Dayhoff?
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. On behalf of the city of Westminster, we would like to extend our heartfelt condolences. We wanted to the friends and family of the and colleagues of the West York Borough Police Department. Please keep all our healthcare providers and first responders in your prayers. Join me in sending the family and friends of the West York Borough Police Department and Northern York Regional Police Department and UPMC Memorial Hospital in our hearts and our prayers. If you will recall, 3 police officers were shot at an incident at the UPMC Memorial Hospital in West Manchester Township up near York, Pennsylvania. 30-year-old Officer Andrew Duarte was transported to Wellspan York Hospital after the incident where he died from his injuries from gunfire at 12/19, just 5 days after his 30th birthday. He was an only child. Duarte served in the West York Borough Police Department since I think 2022. In addition to the 3 officers that were shot in the incident, a doctor, a nurse, and a housekeeper were also shot. It's a different world that we live in these days, and we need to keep in our hearts and our prayers and hold tightly to our police officers, many of whom know the police officers up in York. We want to keep them all safe and realize and understand that the job that they do is dangerous, and you never know when they're going to face that kind of danger. These police officers ran towards danger when the danger evolved. Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi and Mr. Dayhoff. Public Works, Ms. Gilbert.
Our Public Works Department has been spending a lot of time removing fallen trees from our recent windstorms, snow and ice removal for the last 3 snow events, assisted in cleanup and water restoration efforts at 45 West Main Street throughout the entire past weekend. We received many compliments about our Public Works efforts to address the last storm, and I thought you might want to read, I wanted to read one of the letters we received. Dear Mr. Strasberg, I wanted to stop and take a minute to thank you and the roads crew for never failing to get the job done. I've lived at my house, 308 Buena Vista Drive, for 25 years now, and I've raised 4 kids in my house. As our kids have all grown and have now experienced snow outside Westminster City, each of them have commented on how spoiled they were to have grown up in the Westminster roads after a storm. They've certainly had to adjust their expectations downward, as none have experienced that rival, the amazing attention roads crews here in Westminster receive. My husband and I could not agree more. We live on an unpopulated street, but a very steep hill. Our hill is always salted and plowed, and my husband is able to get to his job that requires him to be on the road without fail. We imagine the job of braving the snow and the storms is often thankless, so please know and let your crews know that they have provided us with safe travels and peace of mind that my family is sincerely grateful for. Ms. Foley. So I just wanted to share that. Shall I go right into Public Works?
Yes,
I
please.
mean, I'm sorry, I just finished Public Works. I'll go so on Friday, February 14th, from 10 to 12 p.m., the Recreation and Parks Department hosted the 2nd annual Adaptive Recreation Valentine's Day celebration, Besties and Brunch. With 19 attendees and 10 support staff totaling 29 participants, the community room at the Westminster Municipal Pool Complex was bustling. The brunch menu featured pancakes with a delightful topping bar, banana, strawberries, and rainbow sprinkles, M&M's chocolate syrup, and whipped cream. Additionally, attendees had the opportunity to craft gifts for their Valentines
thanks to the generous candy donations from Jill's Jams, Mixes and Mores. In addition to this unique event that Westminster, our Parks and Recreation Department offers, I just want to encourage people to look at the band app for more information involving all of our pop-up fitness center classes and to look for upcoming community events that include a Creating Your Calm Wellness Workshop at the Celtic Cantor on March 8th, Walk with a Naturalist on March 6th, Parents Night Out on March 28th, and then we'll hop right into the egg sighting trail and egg hunt on April 12th. I could go on for the rest of the year, but I'll stop with April.
All right, thank you. Technology Committee, Mr. Bail.
Thank you, Mr. President. We all take it for granted when the phones work or the computers work, but we have to extend a special thanks to the IT department for dealing with the recent work over at 45 and the street department. In my previous life, I did a lot of water damage restoration. It's a pretty difficult job. I really understand it. I get it. So please extend our thanks to all your folks for all their great work. We really super appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Move on now to council comments and discussion. This is an opportunity for council members to comment on anything that is not elsewhere on the agenda or part of the committee report, anything on their minds, and we'll start with Mr. Kavachi.
No comment, President.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Mr. Dayhoff.
I overheard the comments that Mr. Huff referred to, the chicken salad chicken opening. And we can be really proud of that. He was quite effusive about our workforce in Westminster and working with the city of Westminster and how well that development has worked out. So I think that's indeed something that we can be quite proud. Thank you, Mr. President. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Ms. Gilbert.
I don't have too much additional other than everybody's mentioned chicken salad chick, so I'm not gonna reiterate any of that. I will mention that Councilmember Hoff and myself spent an informative evening in Annapolis on February 17th with our delegation. Outside of that, I don't know if Councilman Hoff will elaborate further on that, but it was informative and a nice evening. So I thank the delegation for that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I don't have much to add except, echo the mayor's comments. It's great to be able to travel to Annapolis with her, to meet with the governor and some other state legislative leaders in pursuit of some of Westminster's goals. And hopeful, it was a very busy day. Hopeful that it will be fruitful. And of course, I just want to say it was great to see our delegation, and they were as always welcoming and friendly and supportive, and it was nice. It was also kind of fun it was Independent College and University Day. And so we were being followed around by a delegation from McDaniel College, including President Julia Jaskett and some students and other senior staff there. And it's not like they were stalking us, because every time we got somewhere, they showed up minutes later. So
I did at least 3 or 4 times. So
that's right, yeah. But anyway, it was good. And that's all I have. Move on now to ordinance.
Mr. President, you skipped over.
You're so quiet.
The only thing I wanted to mention, just as chair of intergovernmental relations, and the mayor touched on it, and I was just sitting here thinking, we are very fortunate. Over the past 3.5 years since I've been on council, we have developed a very good working relationship with our entire state delegation. And they have been here for us in so many occasions, whether it's trying to get money from Annapolis, or whether it's trying to get legislation passed for a water reuse project. They have consistently been there for us. And I think it's a real testament in today's modern world, the fact that, I know we're nonpartisan, but we come from different parties, all of us. And the level of collaboration, I think, really speaks highly of the kind of community that we live in, where people work together. And I also do want to shout out, particularly Commissioner Gordon, Bigliotti, and Guerin, over and over again when we've had issues on the county commissioner level, and we have gone to those gentlemen, they have always listened to us with an open ear and been very supportive and helpful to our concerns. So I really appreciate having those kind of collaborative relationships with some of our elected officials. And I guess I should also, while we're for good measure, throw in the state's attorney and also Carroll County Sheriff, because they've been great to work with as well. So I just wanted to mention that. And that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Now we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. First item is adoption of ordinance number 2025-02. Ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster adopting local map amendment LMA 24-02, amending the zoning map for certain real property located at 222 East Green Street, Westminster, Maryland, 21157, to superimpose the compatible neighborhood overlay zone, CN zone, over the existing R7500 residential zone to develop multiple family dwelling units. Mr. Depot, anything you want to add from earlier?
Nothing more to add other than, again, staff recommends that the Mayor and Common Council approve the ordinance adopting local map amendment LMA 2402. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Let's get this properly before us. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion to adopt the ordinance so we can have some further discussion.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Hoff, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gilbert. All right. Any discussion? Or questions for Mr. Depot?
I'm sorry, Mr. Kavachi, could you go?
No, I'm willing to wait.
Go ahead, Ms. Gilbert.
Mine's gonna be just really quick. I know some of the comments were regarding parking, and as I look at the packet, there's a particular page, hold on a minute, I'm not quite sure what that page is. It's where they have the little drawings in the parking lot lines, and I was wondering if it is possible to add another row of parking, because I can understand their concern.
We can look in it. There's still stormwater management that has to be placed on site, so that takes up land. And we were trying to maintain some green space between the parking and the adjacent residential. So we can look into it, but if the property meets the requirements of the ordinance, which it does meet, but we can certainly, and that's something we can bring forward to the planning commission and see if we need to get additional. I did want to point out that they are extending Sycamore. So they are building the roadway, Sycamore Street, from the intersection of Sycamore and Green Street up to the intersection of Winchester and Sycamore. So that could provide Orange Street parking as well, as similar to Ralph Street. So you'll have that connection being done as part of this project.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hoff.
I do want to make a point about something. I look back because I'm the ex officio of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Historic District Commission and the Planning and Zoning Commission, I just did a quick count, Mr. Depot, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. We have discussed this project, I believe, at 7 meetings when I've counted over the past year.
Yes.
So and all those meetings were open to the public. We have had a lot of good discussion about this project, a lot of hard work that went into it on behalf of the Historic District Commission, as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission. So with that said, this still has to, Mr. Depot, please correct me if I misstate anything. This still has to go through a site plan process. Any concerns that anybody has during that process is something that the Planning and Zoning Commission can consider and make further modifications or recommendations. Is that not correct, Mr. Depot?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's open to the public and the planning commission would take public comment as part of that site plan.
Because this is bringing down this zone onto this property. This does not mean now the architecture is going to be very similar, obviously, because it can't too much materially differ because then it would have to go back. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
But the ability to further modify this site as we go along in the process is there.
Correct. With the Mayor and Common Council, if they approve the ordinance, the planning commission has to determine that whatever they're approving is compatible to the exhibit and the attachments of this ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Hoff, Mr. Kavachi, you had something you wanted to?
It was pretty much already asked and answered. I will just add that, again, we're really making a decision on this zoning at this juncture. We're not making a decision on the layout and what it looks like and how it's structured and any of those things. We're strictly making a vote on whether we're going to allow it to be rezoned at this point in time. And I think the folks who have some concerns should follow what Mr. Huff's suggestion is show up at those meetings as they're working on the site plan and make sure their input goes to that group, because they're the ones who are really going to be talking about what it looks like and how it's structured and parking and where all those things, not the zone. But it's still good that we got that input, because there's an opportunity now for them to go and express that to the group that's actually going to weigh in on that versus whether it's zoning or not.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. And I would add that. So again, this is, about, doing the overlay zone, which is what empowers the planning committee and the staff to be able to go back and continue to have discussions about those kind of details, whereas otherwise, other rules would apply and, we would have less ability to impact those things. And I think it's valuable, Mr. Depot, to have heard these comments, as well as Mr. Hoff, who is a member of the planning commission, will be present for those conversations. And be able to share that with his colleagues, as well as, whatever testimony you folks might offer at that. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
the issue before us this evening is a zoning question. It's not the parking or development review. But I want to make sure that Mr. Depot understands that I share their concerns about parking. I grew up in that neighborhood extremely well. And I really find a lot of value in their comments about parking. I think it's going to be a critical issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Mr. Hoff.
one other thing I do want to add, just kind of speaking big picture wise, one of the things that we have discussed strategically is the fact that we need a more diversity of housing. That is not just here, but a statewide issue. And I will, as someone who's sold real estate, I know that, one of the complaints I always hear of Pars Ridge, because people are very attracted to that, is there isn't elevators, and everybody wants a first floor unit. The nice thing about a building like this, these are going to be similar to Pars Ridge, obviously newer, but the whole building is going to have elevators. And there is a real need in our community for people to have those kind of housing options. So I know that change is hard, or when you're doing redevelopment, it's hard at times, but it's important that we are providing different type of housing for people that live in this community, or that want to live in this community too. So that's just one kind of bigger point I want to make as well. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hoff. Anyone else? All right, hearing no further discussion, move on to a vote again on the adoption of the ordinance to adopt the local map amendment to amend the zoning map for certain real property located at 222 East Main Street to superimpose the compatible neighborhood overlay zone. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Do I seem to have any ayes have it, and the ordinance is not. Then, Mr. Depot, now let's go back to the planning commission.
Yes.
And we will wait for the results.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. President, just to be clear, might not go back to planning commission for a while because they'll have to work on a site plan. Is that correct, Mr. Depot?
They would have to
They'll probably be months.
officially submit the site plan to go through its process for engineering review and, yeah.
Mr. Depot, you can keep these people that are here in the audience informed in some manner.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item is adoption of ordinance number 2025-03, Cannabis Overlay District Amendment, and ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of Westminster adopting a sectional map amendment and amend the boundaries of cannabis overlay district for the purpose of establishing the appropriate locations for the designation of cannabis overlay floating zones, permitting the operation of cannabis businesses in the city. Mr. Depot, anything you want to add to your earlier testimony?
Just to repeat that the staff is recommend the Mayor and Common Council approve ordinance 2025-02 as amended by the Planning and Zoning Commission and provided in attachment one of the staff report.
Thank you. Once again, this is an issue we've been looking at for quite some time. We've had a lot of discussion about it in the past, but let's get it properly before us for discussion tonight. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt, Mr. President.
A motion by Mr. Kavachi. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Mr. Hoff. Any further discussion on this item or any questions from Mr. Depot? Hearing none, we'll move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption, ordinance number 2025, the Cannabis Overlay District Amendment, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the ordinance is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is unfinished business. There's no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business to bring before the council? Hearing none, move on to the next item, which is new business. Mr. Kavachi.
Yes, Mr. President, let me get scrolled down there, sorry. Yeah, I'll just do a little like this, yeah, thanks. Mr. President, I move that the common council adjourn to a closed meeting on Monday, February 25th, 2025, at the conclusion of the regular meeting in accordance with general provisions, article of the annotated code of Maryland 3-305B subsection 1, discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matters that affects one or more specific individuals.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi.
President, just a note that it's February 24th.
Yes, today is in fact February 24th.
I'm just a dummy up here reading.
No. Mr. Barber. So,
They have been a little distracted over there at 45.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you for catching up. Mr. Kavachi has made the motion for the discussion tonight.
And amended it to say the 24th, Mr. President.
I have a second.
As amended.
The second by Mr. Hoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And so the common council will adjourn to a closed meeting at the conclusion of the regular meeting. And I'll note that it is not our intent to return to a regular session at the conclusion of the. That's all we have for that. We'll move on now to departmental reports. Ms. Ivos, you want to tell us what your staff's been up to and let them tell us a little bit about it? It's been a rough weekend.
It has been a long weekend. So the city administration building, which is located at 45 West Main, has incurred water intrusion from a broken pipe over the weekend. The building is closed. Anyone who is the public who needs to interact with the staff at 45 West are instructed to come to City Hall, which is the building I'm in right now. And we'll have staff here to assist the public. The building will be closed probably for the next 2 weeks, maybe longer than that. But the staff have been incredible. I'd like to give a big thank you, as the mayor did, and as Councilmember Dayhoff did as well, to the Public Works Department and the IT department. We put in some big hours this weekend and were able to save all of the records and help the assist Serve Pro, who's been an excellent partner with the city in trying to help dry things out. So thank you for the staff that worked on that and for the rest of the staff that helped support us while we were busy otherwise doing other things.
Let me just say before you go on, you're minimizing. I mean, this is not a little water. This is an awful lot of water that you guys saw.
It was raining inside of the building. It was a lot of water. There was water on the ground and a lot of things got wet. So
Second floor on down to the basement.
all the way to the basement, yeah. And it's unfortunate, that's a brand new building. It's a beautiful building and we enjoy working in that building. So it was sort of heartbreaking to see. But the staff really mobilized quickly to get the water turned off. Thankfully, we had a few technology components that alerted us quickly that there was an issue, and staff dropped everything that they were doing on a Saturday and got into the building quickly and just started working and worked for about 12 hours. And then got back in the next day and did the same things. Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. It's always a learning opportunity, things we have learned and intend to be able to do better. we're pretty grateful that it was water and not wastewater. And it can always be worse. So, it was on the weekend at least, it didn't happen, we had time to kind of make up for it and get everybody situated and back to work today. The housing department was able to see clients today, and that's important. So again, it was a big team effort, led from top to bottom, sideways, up and down. And we have distributed staff throughout the other buildings in the city, so we're not gonna have to incur a cost to rent a space. And we've mobilized pretty quickly. We learned a lot from the COVID time when we had to be remote, with no time in between. But we'll be back working together in a building this week. So I don't think the public will have noticed too much. I think that's all I want to say. Does anyone have any questions on that issue or want to bring anything up from the council before we move on to the rest of the
Mr.
stuff?
President, I do want to make one comment, just because I know this question is going to come up at some point from the public. City does not self-insure for these types of incidents. We do have insurance. So I know the question is going to come up, but the taxpayer is going to be on the hook for this, and you're certainly hoping not.
No, our insurance adjuster was out today and indicated that it's all covered under our existing policy, thankfully. Anyone who's had to deal with water inside their house or at their work knows that that's a very long process to work through, getting the contractors and negotiating with the insurance company and I'm sure the mayor and council may need to convene at some point to authorize an expense that's wild, but we know that that will be reimbursed by the insurance company and I'm certainly grateful for that.
Thank you.
Ms. Moss, I just did want to mention that I was thankful to hear that the finance department remained unflooded with the advent of the budget season right around the corner as well, which I'm very happy to hear that. Mrs. Rogers.
We were happy to hear that as well. Payroll is this week, of course. Because when it rains, it pours. So the finance department was able to pivot quickly and get payroll running and get, bills paid. We just didn't miss a beat, and that's because of to Councilmember Huff's point, that's Carroll County in some ways, but it's definitely the staff here pivoted quickly and everyone worked together as a team without really grumbling about any of it. So you should be proud of the work that they did over the weekend and even this week. I certainly am. All right, and no other questions for me on that topic or comments? All right, so let's start going around the room. We'll start with Mr. Brown tonight, the housing committee. Sir?
Good evening. I don't have any specific report. I do, however, want to take this opportunity to commend the city administrator for her quick and decisive leadership in ensuring that the operations continue and the citizens get served without missing a beat. So I just want to extend that to her. I also want to extend thanks and gratitude to Rick in the IT department. When you hear the phrase miracle worker, it really applies and it's not a misnomer. He and his team, to see them work this morning and across the weekend is just amazing. So thank you, Rick, and thank the team. And Street does everything. I mean, Street, I think, is a misnomer. They do everything and they do it with such efficiency and such humbleness and getting it all done. And that's what here's the mission, here's the end goal, and they get you there. And so I just wanted to take that opportunity to express that not only on behalf of my department, but I believe on behalf of every department in this government. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Are there any questions for the housing director? Hearing none, we'll move on to recreation. Ms. Gruber?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Brown's comments, although the Recreation and Parks Department was unaffected by the water intrusion episode this weekend. I'm always proud to work with this amazing group of city employees, and this was yet another shining example of how everybody pulls together and works so well together. No one has an attitude, nobody has an ego, they just get in the door and they start getting the work done. And so this is just another reason why I appreciate the leadership of Ms. Impulse, because she certainly cultivates that environment. And I just appreciate each and every one of my coworkers. I'm so proud. So, and with that said, the Recreation and Parks Department is kicking off event season. We officially kick off the Celtic Canter celebrations on March 1st, which is Saturday. That is not the race. That kicks off our Pot of Gold scavenger hunt in downtown businesses, where children can visit our participating downtown businesses and collect gold coins, at which they can save and spend them at our Lucky Leprechaun store on March 8th, which is the event day at the Irish Festival downtown. So they can purchase little things at our store with those coins that they collect all week long. So it's just a way for us to announce that the event is coming and to engage our younger participants in the fun starting early. So we hope to see everybody out on Main Street on March 8th for the Irish Festival. You do not have to be a runner to enjoy this event. There are 3 running events that will occur on that particular Saturday, but the Irish Festival does run from 8 a.m. until 12 noon. We'll have food vendors, artisan and craft vendors, nonprofits out on the street. So live entertainment, so much to do. So if you're tired of being stuck inside because of the oppressive cold that you've experienced this winter, we're hoping for different weather on that particular day. And we're hoping that you'll take a chance and come out and have some fun on Main Street, hear the runners on, eat some Irish food, and just have a great time. So that concludes my report, unless there are questions.
I would like a guarantee on the weather.
Yeah.
It is a weekend. I think Councilmember Gilbert reminded me, I don't think we've ever had a really nice day. Or maybe.
The one day that we had that was really nice was 2020, when we had to cancel it because of the pandemic.
Right?
Oh, I'd be darned.
No, I just, always remember snow on that day.
Snowed.
I know. Or rain. Or like cold. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that there's gonna be an anomaly this year. Last year was last year. That was freezing. It was damp, but it wasn't freezing.
My Perlman was soaking wet.
25 marathon that we participated in.
I mean, that is.
It's warm, Joe.
I've been training very hard for it.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Gerber? Hearing none, we'll move to a quick Public Works update. In addition to our thanks and gratitude to the Public Works Department, with reminder that a few days before March 8th, but apparently not on March 8th, we're expecting some snow. So we'll have some snow next week. The Streets Department is getting prepared for that potential. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong.
We're a week out.
We're a week out.
So every time it's been a week out, it's been a bust.
Hey,
Maybe this
you
will
heard
be
it here.
different.
Straight from there.
Right. I hope so.
All right, we're gonna move on to,
For another 5 minutes.
That's good.
we're moving on. We're moving on to Mr. Moore, who I just want to take just a quick moment to thank again for his efforts this weekend. For example, on Monday morning today, his team had to go out and buy equipment in order to relocate some staff over here because we're so reliant on our copy machines. We didn't have printers per se, and they just rolled with it. So Mr. Moore, for your efforts, we are eternally grateful and hope that you get some sleep tonight. Do you have a report for council?
I'll keep it short. Just piggybacking, it was an experience this weekend, but like I said, everyone pitched in. It was great to see everyone working hard. On the IT front, 2025 has been crazy for us, even before this weekend. If you saw the departmental reports, we finally did get one thing off our list for the wastewater technology closet that has finally been finalized for the IT part of that. So that was a huge check mark for us. In addition to the police dispatch, I know that was discussed, that has been finished. We're just waiting on some monitors, which had to be repurposed today to get people up and running. But that move has been complete as far as our cleanup and things like that goes. So I'm proud of my team. We've done a lot of good work and we're just chugging along at this point. So that is my report unless there's any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Moore? Hearing none, we'll move on to the planning department. Mr. Depot.
Thank you. On February the 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on ordinance 2025-03, the Cannabis Overlay District, which was just adopted tonight. They approved the 2024 City of Westminster Planning Annual Reporting Information Certification, reviewed and continued Site Development Plan S1837 for My K9 Buddy. This is a property located on the northern side of Crowder's Church Road. And the proposal is to construct a 40,000 square foot indoor dog training and event facility. They reviewed and approved sign permit 1983 for Northeastern Supply at 40 Magna Way, allowing for a 125 square foot sign. And they held a work session on zonal map amendment ZMA 2401 to reclassify certain property from the R7500 residential zone to the planned development 9 zone located off and east of Pennsylvania Avenue and north of Sullivan Avenue. This is the project that we term Willows. So it is back again for work sessions. The proposal is for 22/2 dwellings for a total of 40 dwelling units. And these would be rental units. And that completes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Mr. Debo, when you say rental units, those are market rate?
Market rate, yes.
Okay. I know Mr. Kovacic was maybe gonna ask.
Yeah, and that's the Bolivar property?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the planning department? Hearing none, we'll move on to the finance department. Ms. Rogers?
Thank you, Ms. Imholz. Just want to echo what Mr. Brown said and thank Ms. Imholz for her leadership this past weekend. And as always, she's a strong leader for us. And Mr. Moore, thank you as well for keeping my team running during payroll week and also payables week and keeping me up and going for budget. So with that, I just want to say to the public that we will be relocating finance over to this building. We are off-site currently and in and out of 45 as need be, but the phones are still being manned. Extension 3255 or 848-3255 if you call there. If someone doesn't pick up, please leave a message. We are calling back. My team has been calling everybody back, so we will get to you and we'll have phones going directly to us shortly. With that, President Pecoraro, you mentioned that we're working on budget, so that's our primary focus right now as far as projects other than our day-to-day. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Ms. Rogers.
Yes.
There is a drop off, if someone's making a water sewer payment, because I knew
Yes.
somebody that was gonna make it today, but because the building was closed, but there is a drop off box in the back, in the rear of the building, is that correct?
Absolutely. There's a drop off in the back that is locked. I really don't encourage people to leave cash ever in even a locked box, but checks and such can be left. And as I said, we'll be back over here. The expectation, I believe, is Wednesday that in person you can make payments here, but that box is being checked daily by my team.
Okay, you're gonna be over in this building at this building for taking payments.
Yes.
Okay.
In addition to. Sorry?
So you can always pay online too.
That's what I was just about to say. Online is also an option for paying the water bills. So in this building, we will have housing, planning, and the finance department, which are the departments that interface the most with the public. So if the public's looking for us, we're gonna be in this building starting Wednesday. Any more questions for Ms. Rogers? Hearing none, we'll move on to the police department. Tonight, we've got Captain Schuster with us. Sir?
Good evening. Talk about, we have 2 arrests that we made, on February 13th, 2025 during the afternoon. Suspect walked into the CVS at 275 Baltimore Boulevard. He was later identified as Tony Lynn Smith, presented a note, claiming that he was armed and demanding narcotics. After receiving the narcotics, he fled on foot. Officers responded, were able to locate him. He was positively identified and he was arrested on scene. He's currently being held at the Carroll County Detention Center on no bond. On February 14th, 2025, during the afternoon hours, male suspect walked into the Penny Bar at 1 East Main Street and demanded money from the register. He claimed that he had his hand in his pocket, that like he had a weapon. The owner of the store pushed him out. They got into a tussle. He fled on foot. We were able to identify the suspect immediately as Nathaniel Eckerd, 25 years of age.
Detectives wrote search or arrest warrants for him. We subsequently, he was apprehended on February 18, 2025, with evidence of the crime. He is currently being held on a no bond at the Carroll County Detention Center as well. Our communications office has been completely renovated and it is done. We want to thank Public Works and IT. Without them, this could not have happened. It really is a big update, and we appreciate everybody's assistance. On April 16, 2025, at approximately 9 a.m. at the Best Western, we're going to have Westminster Police Department will have their annual award ceremony, and the Chamber of Commerce Public Safety Award will be held on May 20th, 2025 at 8 a.m. I don't know if the location has been determined yet, and that's all I have as item. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any questions for the police department? Mr. President, that concludes the departmental reports.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. Imhoff. And we will now turn to citizens' comments. This is the final item on our agenda. This is when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. We ask the commenters please include their address and phone number with their comments that they email us. We'll now invite comments from anyone who is present this evening. And this is an opportunity for the folks to share their comments, their thoughts on with the mayor and council on anything concerning the city that was on tonight's agenda or some other matter in the city. So is there anyone who wishes to be heard tonight? Yes, sir.
So very brief, this is my first time being.
Right, could you give us your name and address for the?
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, she has it, it's Evan
Well, we
Seltzer.
put it in the record though, because everybody.
Oh, do you mean to say, or?
Well, we like to know who people are.
Okay, there were Evan Seltzer, 30
Thank you.
Court, Westminster, Mayor, obviously Westminster, so, I'm new, I've always heard that like, good to go to these town halls to get involved, and my goal today is to get involved. I'm a federal worker, and I wanna get involved with everything that's going on. I know it's a challenging time for some, maybe some others not, but for me, it's a challenging time with job cuts, things that maybe are out of my control, and I just want to see how I can get involved with at this level to maybe get to, work with other people in the higher levels. And I'm just really interested in learning from everyone of what everyone's doing and how to get involved with this. Because everywhere I read, they say, go to your town halls, go to the commissioners, go to the governor, but you got to start somewhere. So this is where I'm starting. So that's all I really have. I just want to get involved, and any guidance would be great because there's stuff going on. I just want to make sure everyone's safe in our world.
Well, we always welcome everybody to come here and share their thoughts. Thanks very much. Anyone else wish to be heard this evening?
I have a question,
Yes, sir.
and you got me, I'm John Bucket. I heard for years about the water moratorium in Westminster, not having enough of it and cutting way back on building. Well, this leads into the putting in a whole bunch of residents over top of what was allowed zoning wise. Is that over and done with?
There once was a moratorium, which meant that nothing could happen while we were trying to straighten out, our water situation. Since that time, we have brought some additional water online and we have a water budget. So each year we allocate so much water for new development. So because we don't want to shut the pipeline down completely because, some new activity is important to continue to have the city be healthy. So we have a limited amount of water available each year. And we budget that, according to different types of needs the city has. And people have to apply for it and have to, meet the criteria and be eligible for the water. So we do a little bit of water each year. And we also have our water reuse project, which we're working on, which within a few years, after that is completed and built, then the city will have some additional water resources as well as we can use to make sure that everybody's water supply remains safe, particularly in drought.
I just wondered how that was supposed to add up.
Right.
put all these new places in where there should only be about a half a dozen.
Right, what I said, we have a budget, and each year we allocate a certain amount for different types of development. We have different priorities. Commercial development is our number one priority, and our priorities, are development within the city, the city water and sewer system extends outside the city, and we prioritize development within the city. Because, our water. Okay, answer your question. Yes, ma'am.
Nicole Wilson again. I just had a question about, I've gotten from the comments that this is gonna happen, that's fine. However, you spent $10 to send us a notification of this meeting. I'm just curious, at what point could we have made an impact on this? At what meeting would that have been, and why didn't we get a $10 priority mail envelope with that notification?
I can't speak to how we mail notices out. I do know that we try to notify people about events, surround them, and you can sign up. I think you can sign up for notifications for different types of meetings.
I'm not sure about that. I apologize. I don't know if we had that. Maybe that's something I could talk to IT department about, but we're required to notify adjacent property owners for all public hearings. So they would have received one for the Planning and Zoning Commission public hearing, which I believe some of the neighbors came to, as well as tonight's public hearing.
Yeah, I see that in the packet, there were the adjoining property owners.
Yes.
And there will be public notices about future
We're
public
joining
hearings.
property owners.
Yeah, this is the first one we got, and it came in a priority mail, type thing, like it was urgent. To come, it wasn't just a normal letter from the city of Westminster.
I'm not certain.
But, Mr. President, but just to be clear, maybe we weren't clear we were speaking. You are gonna have opportunities to weigh in on the final product. Again, all we did tonight was lay the zoning approval so that something can be built there.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with what they're building other than the density. So you guys definitely gonna have an opportunity to show up at some future meetings where they're gonna be vetting out the finalization of this plan. And you should, if you have some concerns, and make sure that you're putting those in front of the folks that ultimately are gonna have that final say on what that plan looks like, which is not us at this point.
Sure,
So,
I understand.
not trying to pass the buck.
No, I understand what you're saying. Mr. Huff said that the plan would not change much. So I took those words to mean that we're pretty much stuck with where we are. And
It sounded like to me, though, you guys were more concerned about things that maybe weren't the overall project, but just some details.
Correct.
And I think there's an opportunity to make sure your voices are heard relative to those details. And I'm confident that you'll be able to get a hold of Mr. Depot, or he'll get a hold of you and make sure that you guys know when these next meetings are gonna take place. And if not, reach out to.
You can get my card.
Yeah, I mean, we're right, our email address is right on the website, email us and we'll figure out when those meetings are gonna be, make sure you guys have an opportunity to be there.
thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Ingalls.
I don't know if this is helpful or not, but the city's website has Planning and Zoning Commission information on it. Those meetings are held in this room on the third Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. The agenda is posted on the city's website, so you could take a look the third Thursday prior to that, right? To see if the item's on the agenda. You can contact all the people that they've mentioned as well, but we post those on the agenda. It's also live on our, not live, but it's recorded on our YouTube channel. So you can go back and look at those if you ever want to, or if you can't go for a commitment, always watch on the YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sure the planning commission, please tell me if I'm misspeaking, but I'm sure the planning commission would accept your written comments if sometimes you had a conflict or something, you could present your comments to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ingalls.
You are.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to be heard tonight? All right, well, with that then, thank everyone, I thank everyone who joined us for this meeting. That concludes our agenda and the meeting, and our next regular meeting will be Monday, March 10th. And with that, We are adjourned.
Mr. Levy.